Welcome back to On Texas Football, folks. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers, pleased to be joined by the young prodigy, fellow lifetime Longhorn CJ Vogel, and of course the man who needs no introduction, the newest member of the On Texas Football family, my good friend and now co-worker Jeff Howe. Welcome back to On Texas Football for our Friday live stream. I like to call it a freak flag, feel good, fake it till you make it. Ric Flair. Woo! Football Friday edition of On Texas Football. Yes, so I always make it a Football Friday here. Having a great time. Please do throw out your questions, comments, as many as you can. Anything, doesn't matter what it is. We'll try to address it. Super chats, jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time. Big recruiting news. All right, so we'll talk about that coming up. Actually, start off talking about some recruiting. Got some prospects on campus, but of course, talking plenty of spring football nuggets on the show as well. And we'll also get to some other topics, some news, notes, and nuggets. Some other college football topics. Tennessee dealing with basically a straight up contract negotiation. We've gone to like NIL being behind the scenes, and now guys just straight up like, hey, man, we in a negotiation. So we want to talk about that a little bit. Texas is always at the forefront of NIL and those topics. We'll also, speaking of, we'll get to Longhorns. We'll get to an interview, the Pivot, Ryan Clark and his group. They actually had an interview with both Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill. They did a combo interview. I don't know if you guys got a chance to check it out, but I want to talk about that a little bit too. But let's start off with recruiting, guys, because big news or surprise news in the recruiting realm for Texas. I heard there was a big-time prospect that was spotted on campus, CJ.
Yeah, our Jerry Hamilton shot this video here of 2026 five-star linebacker USC commit Xavier Griffin out of Gainesville, Georgia, arriving on campus. You see him there, Alan Clark out there, a number of other, Johnny Nance, and a number of other Texas personnel meeting him as he enters at Moncrief. Of course, he'll be on campus today. He'll watch the practice tomorrow and then head out on Sunday. This is not an official visit. However, it is a lengthier visit. And again, it is a great time for Texas to get Xavier Griffin on campus. You look back last year, and I've mentioned this a few times on the recruiting breakdowns and several other shows. It was around this time last year that Texas really got started with a Josiah Sharma, with a Jamie French, and now Xavier Griffin on campus for the first time. Let's see where this goes, but it's certainly a great sign. Griffin committed to USC back in July of last year. As we've seen USC previously, they like to get their guys in the fold immediately, right? I think they're up to 22 commits already in the 2026 cycle. Texas, for comparison, only has 4 right now. So they get their guys in early. They did this last year as well. The issue is, and what they tend to battle with is, are they able to hold on to these guys? And especially on the front 7, where you see USC team that's not necessarily built to play that tough-nosed SEC defense. Maybe that'll change this year. But point being, long way to go till signing day, and Texas making a move right now for Xavier Griffin with him on campus.
Can I ask you guys, that's so Mac Brown back in his day. How often these days in a modern era do you get guys that many guys to commit early? Is it just LA? Are we just talking about this is a Hollywood thing? Like when you go to LA, you're like, I'm committing. Hell yeah, I'm saving my spot here, man. You go to that first unofficial visit, whatever it is, you're like, no, ain't nothing gonna be better than this. I will commit right now. Is it just that? Because is that what we're talking about, Jeff? Because I don't know, maybe I don't follow it enough. Do a lot of schools, how many schools do these days, what percentage have that many guys committing that early?
You'll see, we've seen Texas Tech do this in a couple of cycles. I think for USC specific, and I think it's a case-by-case basis. I don't think there's like a blanket reason why teams do it. Like for Tech, I think you try to get guys in the fold because in theory, you've identified them as targets before, Texas and Oklahoma or LSU has. And now you hope you've built the relationships with them that, no, hey, we found you first. We were first to the party. Stay with us. I think for USC, Jerry and I have talked about this recently. I think for SC, it's more of you don't really have a ton of forward momentum on the field. So kind of galvanize your program in the offseason and try to generate some momentum.
Yeah.
You said it perfectly, Rod. It's because we saw Mac do this, especially at the end.
Yeah.
Where you take some commitments and it's like, okay, yeah, you're generating momentum. Problem is you end up with a class at the end where you're like, you know what? We took this guy's commitment almost a year ago. You had to do it over again. We probably wouldn't take it. So
point two.
Xavier Griffin's not one of those guys, but I just think USC, you're trying to generate the momentum, try to get guys in the fold, build the relationship, and then hope you've got the on-field results that can help you hang on for dear life. We haven't seen that with them the last few years.
Yeah, and for comparison, looking at some of the top classes in the country right now, Clemson has 13, Ohio State 10. Those are 2 and 3 behind USC, who obviously is at number 1 with 22 guys in the class. The only other schools that really have a lot of guys or that many guys committed in this cycle already that are in the top 15 or 20, Syracuse and Kansas each have 14. Louisville has 13. So you see USC is way out in front in terms of bodies in that class currently.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Like I said, I thought that was more of an old school methodology considering transfer portal in these days, and really just Sark. And honestly, Charlie was like that. Charlie was a late closer, and Sark have been late closers for the most part, right? They like to close a lot late.
Yeah, I think as far as compare, if you want to compare the two, Rod, the difference is Sark. There's a method to the madness. Where especially with a guy like Xavier Griffin, like get him on campus in the spring and hope it goes well enough that he wants to schedule an official visit in June. And depending on how that official visit goes, you can stay with him and make sure you've got a foot in the door to hopefully maybe you can get him back on campus for a game in the fall and then get a chance to flip him at the end. Or maybe he decommits from USC at some point and he's a free agent, but you're recruiting him at this point like he's not attached to a school. So,
yeah, you like plant the seed.
Yeah.
It's like you just plant the seeds a little bit and like, all right, we'll see where it goes. We're going to plant the seed early on these guys. So Sark's method works. So trust me, I'm not crazy. It's just interesting. Every program has a kind of a different method for that in terms of how early they want guys to get committed. Sark likes the slow courtship. And take his time with the courtship, kind of get to know each other and kind of see if they're going to be compatible and they're going to be a right fit. All right. So there's some recruiting news. There was an interview. I don't know if you guys saw it with Anthony Hill and Colin Simmons on the pivot. It was really quick. It's like a 10-minute interview. It's not very long at all. I do a good job of cutting it down, just kind of giving you the meat of it. CB brings up one of the things that was brought up in the interview that some Longhorn fans have actually been talking about, that Anthony Hill threw some shade at the color burnt orange on the Pivot podcast. He didn't. Ryan Clark was starting some trash. They had a trash talking session. They just kind of went back and forth, talking about where the best football players are from. They had that one from Florida or Texas, and then Ohio. They talked about that kind of stuff. They talked about, I think basically that was a kind of a challenge that, old school versus new school. They had that kind of debate. So they had some fun. And one of the shots that Ryan Clark threw at one, kind of points of shade he threw at Anthony Hill and Colin Simmons was that the color burnt orange is ugly. He's like, everybody knows y'all got an ugly color. Like, it's just an ugly color. I think he said something like those ugly uniforms, something like that. The comeback from Colin Simmons, with Anthony Hill, which I think was really cool, was that he was like, yeah, that may be true, but our icy whites are really nice, man. Icy whites are some of the best in college football. And then all the guys on the field were like, yeah, you're right, man. Icy whites are clean. They clean. So he didn't dispute. I guess Longhorn fans are upset because he did not kind of debate or dispute that the color burnt orange was, not a very aesthetically pleasing color. And honestly, I've said this before. You've heard me say it, Jeff. Guys, I didn't have a lot of burnt orange in my closet before I went to Texas. Nobody does.
Yeah.
Nobody does. No fashion. Go look at Kim Kardashian. She's got like 32 storage garages and rooms full of clothes. Like I guarantee she ain't got a lot of burnt orange in there. It's just not. That's what makes it cool. It's a unique color. You don't start gathering burnt orange items in your closet unless you have an affiliation with Texas. That's kind of the beauty of it. Now, it is an acquired taste. You got to learn to love it and learn to like it. But I'll admit, even as a player, I didn't necessarily love the burnt orange. The icy whites, though, they're as sick as it gets for any uniform. Like you won't look if you can't make icy white look clean, then you just don't know how to you don't know how to dress it up, man. You ain't got no style, you ain't got no drip. All right, because icy white is I'm telling that icy white for Texas is one of the cleanest uniforms out there. But yeah, burnt orange, it is what it is, guys. It's an acquired taste, and it's okay. They can hate on the burnt orange they want to. The truth is, every time you see it, you know what it means. You know who it is. I know Tennessee got their ugly ass orange and showed us Oklahoma State. But the burnt is a little bit different. It hits different. So that's my take on it. But it was, yes, he did not take up for the burnt orange, guys. He did not say, no, the burnt orange is really nice. It's sexy. No, it ain't that sexy. You got to make it sexy. And we make it sexy. Texas makes burnt orange sexy. And it's not a sexy color, but Texas makes it sexy. Now,
Anthony's argument was, Hill's argument was, it's when you try to decide if you're going to go, sleeves or bands or whatever with the uniform, he said the burnt orange is pretty restrictive. He said you could do a lot more with the icy whites. And Rod, you told me that back when you played, that was the difference between the two.
Mm-hmm.
You can as the tight whites, as y'all called them, you can do more with that, but the burnt orange is a little restrictive.
Yeah. It's like, icy. Like I said, I'm cool with people hating on, but you can hate on it if you want to. Texas makes it look good. We make it look good. You know what I mean? That's like you see somebody wearing a suit in a really kind of cool color. They was like, that's clean. I can't wear it, but damn, that look good. That's Texas.
Ant's not an argumentative person to begin with. We talked about how competitive he is and chippy. That's not, hey, I'm going to sit here and argue, a basketball take with you. When he's on a guest of a podcast as well with Ryan Clark, a guy who's been there, done that, one of the OGs of the sport. Look, he's not going to sit here and tell him he's wrong. He's going to find a point that makes his team and his school look good. So, I mean, if folks are upset about that, you need to go outside. That's my 2 cents on that. But that's a nothing.
Yeah.
I love the fact that Fred Taylor was trying to take up for his alma mater, Florida. And by the way, Fred Taylor back in the day was a great running back in Florida.
Oh.
And Fred Taylor said, well, back when I played, and Anthony Hill said, what was that, like the 80s? Fred Taylor's not quite that old.
And it's like, do you think those guys actually knew, or did they have to look up who Fred Taylor was?
They had to look up who Fred Taylor was.
Look up Fred Taylor, yeah. Fred Taylor was a beast, though.
And where Channing Crowder played, and I bet they didn't know that Ryan Clark went to LSU.
Yeah. No, those guys are old school. I'm old school, too. So, hey, I don't mind if you have to Google what guys. That's cool. I ain't mad at that. I'm sure some young guys have been like, right, who? We're talking right? What? Let me look this dude up. And they're like, oh, okay, you know what? I respect it. That's cool. But I will say this. I think the younger generation, they don't have really a appreciation like for the history of it. I think it's rare when you see a young guy start mentioning old school guys. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like 3-4 decades back. Back in my day, like it was. I wouldn't if Coach Keno would do it. He actually had like a history lesson for DBU when we first got there. So we knew about Johnny Johnson and Jerry Gray and Mossy Cade and all. Like the sheriff Stanley Richard. Like he knew he started. My dad was a huge fan of DBU and he was a Lovey Blue guy too. So I kind of knew it anyway, but. Coach Akita had a little history lesson, like, hey, just so y'all know what the path y'all on, all right? Just so y'all know what the standard in this damn room. Don't be coming in here with no BS, man. It's a standard here. Mm-hmm. And he started, man, we went through like a history lesson. It was nice, too. So I got an appreciation for all the greats. And it's rare when you see a young guy these days that can give you some of those old school references. They give you more modern references, which is fine, by the way. That's just their era. But I don't know if they go back deep like that. Guys like that. So
yeah, Fred Taylor, borderline Hall of Famer. But yeah, if you don't study football, it's not like even in his NFL career, can you tell me like the one Fred Taylor moment that stands out?
No, I just knew he was a beast.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I agree.
That would be like me, somebody asking me, hey, what about Chuck Foreman for the Minnesota Vikings back in the day. Well, I wasn't born yet when Chuck Foreman was ball in the NFL, so I can't tell you about that.
At least you know about him, Jeff.
True.
The young guys don't know. They don't even know. They're like, who the hell are you talking about? What are you talking about? They don't even know. They got to Google it. My point is, at least you know. That's the difference.
You know who I blame for this, Rod? CJ, I think you'll agree with me. I blame Panini and the trading card companies because when I was a kid, that's how you knew about football. You look at the back of the football card, and it's got everybody's year-by-year statistics. That's how you started. That's how you first learned the game. At least that's how I did. But they don't do that anymore. It's just kind of like a 1 year if they put stats on it at all.
If they learn it this year, it'll be like through fantasy. But I don't know a lot of young guys like that play fantasy when they're teenagers growing up. So it's just it's just a different generation of guys in terms of their appreciation for the old school. But like I said, I think Coach Aquino might have a little history lesson. Man, don't you know? You don't know who Ray Clay was, man. What are you doing, man? So Coach Aquino might let him know.
Thank
all
you
right.
for that, Rod.
You know what? I got a question about actually Anthony Hill and Colin Simmons. But first, let's thank our first sponsor of the evening, our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com, ladies and gentlemen. Did you know the most awarded wine in Texas is actually the vineyard that's closest to Austin? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Flatcreekestate.com. Flat Creek Estate is just minutes away from downtown Austin, and they've won award after award this year for their vintage wine, Super Texan. Super Texan is now available at your local spec, so you can give it a try. You also, if you shop at Central Market here in Austin, I saw a display there as well. So I'm really excited that the good word is getting out about one of the best wines on the market. Our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery with their Super Texan, but some of the other wines are really good too. I mean, I love the Pinot Grigio. The Rosé is really, really refreshing and fantastic as well. So you can go check out more about their wine selection at flatcreekestate.com. Of course, Flat Creek, not only a gorgeous venue, but they're not only producing some of the best wines, but a gorgeous venue as well with barbecues and wine tastings every single weekend. Perfect for a day date with your significant other or a weekend getaway with your significant other. We actually had a member of the On Texas football family get engaged out there at Flat Creek Estate Winery. So means a lot to us that you guys are actually supporting them because they support us. So we love our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com. Go check it out for yourself. All right, let's get into. I want to ask you guys about this because I was watching the pivot interview with Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill. Got me to think because it's the first time that I think, even going back old school football, that Texas had the combination, potentially the dynamic duo of the best linebacker in college football and the best edge defender in college football. I don't think Texas has ever had that pre-season, in season. I don't know if it's ever happened. Right, that combination. Now you've had a great combination. You had the best 2D tackles in college football a couple of years ago, right? And Tavondre Swade and Byron Murphy. You had the best safeties. You had the best two safeties in college football in 05 with Griff and Huff, in my opinion, potentially. I'm sure that can be debated. Then the next year, you had the best safety and the best corner. Pitching in college football with Aaron Ross. And so you've had those combinations before. The best, like great dynamic duos on defense. But this has a chance to be one of the best. We can even go further. I think Mossy Cade and Jerry Gray won that 83 secondary together, if I'm not mistaken. And that was both of them. I mean, Mossy Cade ended up being a top 10 pick. And we know Jerry Gray's one of the GOATs of all time. But my point being, dynamic duo-wise with Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill, do you think that they are indeed could finish the season? Because right now the conversation is they are both right now in the conversation to be best at their positions, linebacker and edge rusher. Can they finish the season in the conversation of being the best linebacker and the best edge defender? Because they do. I'm gonna have a hard time not thinking they're the best damn defense if that's the case with that combination. We've never seen that at Texas.
Yeah, I mean, I can think about times where you got close. That specific combo. I think of 2002 where you had a still young Derek Johnson and Corey Redding.
That was a good one.
Would have made an argument.
Yeah, that was a good one.
But like, I'm just trying to think of through the years. I'd have to really think about it. But yeah, I think they can definitely. It's gonna depend. Right now, how are we measuring it though, Rod? Are we measuring it by?
Well, at the end of the season, you want to win some awards. Like if you're going to be the best, you're going to have to win. I mean, you be first team All-American and win some award. At the end of the season, it's easy. Beginning of the season, you can debate. I mean, if they want to, you can debate.
Here's my thing about that: is one of them, will their production kind of cannibalize the production of the other?
Boom.
In other words, if let's say Colin Simmons has 11 and a half sacks, are you taking like 2 or 3 away from Anthony Hill? And does that hurt Anthony Hill into when people start voting for All-American teams? Because I'll tell you that, like, a lot of people that vote on the All-American teams, they'll just look at the stats. They won't look at the eye test.
That's true.
So that's my only concern as far as that criteria goes. But yeah, I think there's no question they can be there. Well, I'll tell you this though. if Texas makes another run in the college football playoff, for them to do that, those guys will have to be that type of duo. So I think stats or not, I think the proof will be in the pudding ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, looking back to 24, what was it? Ant Hill had 8 sacks. Colin Simmons had 9.5. I'm thinking that you get more and more of Colin Simmons this year. I actually wonder if you get those sack numbers again from Anthony Hill. You know, again, you look at what he was able to do in terms of filling up the stat sheet. Multiple forced fumbles. He had a pick or two. Just a guy that was, kind of wrecking shop every time that he was near the ball. That's not going to go away, but we saw it with Jalen Ford. Some of those turnover plays turnover looks a real thing. And especially at the middle of the field, it's going to be a lot more side to side to get away from Anthony Hill, right? And so that's where I see maybe a statistical decline for him. But other than that, he's going to be a guy that when he gets his hand on a ball carrier, there's a higher chance than just about anybody else in the country that guy's going to be more prone to fumbling because Anthony Hill is hitting him, right? We've seen that his entire career. For Colin Simmons, I'm looking at 12 sacks. Like, I think that's like where I'm setting my line. You know, we talk about the Vegas odds for whatever. You know, name something. You know, the color of the Gatorade. How many yards is Arch throwing for? For Colin Simmons, it's like 11.5 sacks. Is he going to eclipse that? I think so. So I don't worry about him at all. And I think, again, he's going to be on the field more than he ever was last year, right? He was only averaging about 25 to about 35 snaps per game. And a lot of that early on was pretty limited in terms of where he was on the field and what packages they would deploy him in. So year 2 Colin Simmons, I think, is absolutely going to be in conversation for All-American. And if we're going off of what we know about Anthony Hill, who I think we all kind of consider to be a big snub from the Butkus Award.
Yeah.
You're certainly looking at both being in contention for being the best in their position.
Yeah, I see the someone in the chat they're talking about. CB says Cedric Reed and Jackson Jeffcoat, last combo I believe at Texas to have last defensive combo to have double-digit sacks each. And I think this year it'd be a shame. And I know CJ, you're saying you project you got a good point that maybe some of Anthony Hill's stats, splash plays could actually drop, especially sacks, considering he's at the linebacker position. Man, if Texas doesn't utilize him more in pass rushing situations off the edge or either blitzing from the second level in this season, I'm going to be disappointed. I'm going to be disappointed because he's honestly some of the stats would say he's a better pass rusher than Colin Simmons. Eye test wise, that's not the case. Eye test wise, Colin Simmons is your best pass rusher. His BGO is amazing. It's elite. I mean, it's going to be even better this year. Matter of fact, my favorite, you were there, CJ. So my favorite quote from Trey Wierson when they was asking him, it was like about practice. Didn't he say like basically Colin Simmons is wrecking practice? Like he's wrecking practice reps for him.
Rod, the question was who's giving y'all fits, and he kind of stopped, took a breath back, and goes, Colin Simmons. Like, he was just sick of seeing the guy. You know, he's like, God, I hate seeing this guy in practice every single day. And he goes on, he says, yeah, man, it's tough to block him. And again, it's a great test right now for an Andre Kojo. It's a great test for Brandon Baker. It's a great test on the opposite side for Trevor Goods because he probably won't face anybody in the country that's better than Colin Simmons on a day-to-day. But also Nick Brooks, because how about that? Welcome to college.
That's
You're
true.
Early enrollee, 6'7", 360-pound left tackle. Here's Colin Simmons. Figure it out. You know, welcome to the speed of the game, basically. So that's great for all involved.
That's a great point. You know what? And I actually thought I was talking to somebody about the Texas secondary recently, and I was like, man, I'm telling you, the fact that they went up against NFL wide receivers for the last 3 years, a lot of those guys, it really helped. It really helped that in practice every day in the reps, you was going against Xavier Worthy. You got a chance to go against, A.D. Mitchell when he came in. Jay Witt is an NFL wide receiver, right? You were working against NFL wide receivers every day. So I think the coverage that improved, I don't know how to quantify it, but I think some of that is just, man, working every day against the best. It definitely helps. To your point, CJ, about those tackles, they should be ready for pass rush now. They should, because you may not be seeing better pass rush skills than a guy like Colin Simmons on the edge. And like I said, I think it'd be a travesty if they don't utilize Anthony Hill more in those situations. Guys, he is really good in pass rushing situations. To have those 8 sacks he had this year, guys, he was in pass rushing situations like less than and 90 snaps.
Yeah.
He got you 6 sacks.
And
Like, think about that.
Go ahead, CJ. Sorry.
I was just going to pull up this comment from CB. Look, Simmons has number 1 overall potential. I'm looking at that 2027 NFL draft. I know it's a ways away.
Mm-hmm.
It's not crazy to think Arch Manning, Colin Simmons go 1-2 in some sort of fashion.
Oh, man.
I'm just going to throw that. It's not crazy to think that because both of them projected to leave college right now in that 27 draft. Tell me there's not going to be more hyped up quarterback than Arch Manning. And if this trajectory continues for Colin Simmons, I have a hard time seeing him drop out of a top 5.
Still hard for me to believe Texas hasn't had a number 1 overall since Kenny Sims, the late great Kenny Sims, back in '82.
Amen, brother.
He was the last Longhorn to go number 1 overall.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's we haven't had a player that we had great players since then, of course, but then a great player that also fits the full criteria of NFL scouts to be the number 1 overall pick, right? To be worthy. Now, that's how you know Sark's doing a damn good job. Right now, y'all talking about a couple of guys who like, hey man, I think this guy's got number 1 pick potential. Leo says it's happened a few times. 1967, Michigan State, Bubba Smith. Tackle went number 1. Clint Jones, running back, went number 2. That's how you know it's old school. Running back would never go that damn high these days. Also, it happened in 1984. Nebraska, Irving Fryer went number 1 at wide receiver, and Dean Steinkuhler.
Thank you,
Jeff. Went to the Love You Blue Oilers, by the way, number 2 tackle. And then it happened in 2000. Defensive combo. This is what we're talking about with Texas now.
Courtney Brown, LeVar Arrington. Yeah.
Courtney Brown went number 1 to the Browns. LeVar Arrington went number 2 to the Washington racial slurs. And there you go. And that's it in a nutshell. So it's happened a few times. Texas could do it. Arch is already being talked about as the number 1 overall pick in NFL circles. So that, if he just rises to the occasion and lives up to expectations, he's going to be that. Yeah, could you have a guy like Colin Simmons also do that? So if Colin Simmons gets 12 sacks, guys, just a head up, that means he'll be top 10 overall. He's got to get to 12 in a single season. Mm-hmm. Nobody will ever catch Kiki Diallo. Nobody will ever catch him.
22 and a half.
22 and a half sacks in 1982, guys.
What?
22 and a half sacks in 1982. Dude, he had 12 in 1981. Kiki did. Kiki. What? He had 12 in 1981. Dude had 22 and a half in 1982.
I had to go back and look at it.
How was he not? Was he the best pass rusher in college football for 2 straight years? Who else was getting that many sacks?
What year did he have the 22 and a half? It was
1982. And 81, he had 12.
No, because in 82, 82, that was the year after Kenny Sims left.
He had 81 and 82, guys. He had in 2. Guys, that's crazy. That is insane. We need to study. Can we go get Kiki? Can we get that Kiki Diallo film? Can we get that Kiki Diallo? How do you say it? Ayala?
Diallo. Dave Remington from Nebraska was your Outland Trophy or your Lombardi Award winner in '82. What about the Outland Trophy?
Guys, they were playing. How many games they were playing, Jeff? They were playing 13 games at most, right?
And at that point, you didn't count. I don't know what Kiki did in the bowl game against Alabama in the Cotton Bowl, or was that? Yeah, that was Bama in the Cotton Bowl. I'm getting my ears confused right now. They didn't count bowl stats. Bowl stats didn't count.
You're right.
Overall stats.
Yeah, that's what we talk about Barry Sanders all the time. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, my man Nathan Vasher counts that because he got an interception in a bowl game, and I think he was on John Bianchi. Y'all should count that because Nathan Vasher claims he should have the interception record.
Because he's technically, he doesn't have it anymore because Earl Thomas passed him and Noble Doss.
Well, not all time.
No, not all time. No, I thought you were at the regular season.
Yeah, single season different. Yeah, he's talking about Nasty Nate says all time. I think him and Noble Doss, they're tied for all time, and Nasty Nate claims he should have the record. But different discussion for a different day. But my point is, we need to do an extensive breakdown, rabbit holing of Kiki Diallo. It's a weird name to say too. I can't even say Diallo.
You're right, Rod.
We gotta do
Noble
a breakdown, dude.
Noble Doss and Nathan Vasher. This is your all-time interception leaders at DBU. Noble Doss and Nathan Vasher tied for first with 17. Jerry Gray's next with 16. You got Derek Hatchett with 15. And with 13 interceptions, Bobby Dillard, Pro Football Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. Johnny Johnson, maybe the greatest college defensive back ever. Stanley Richard, the sheriff. Chris Carter, played in the NFL, will help Texas win a Southwest Conference title and a Big 12 title. And also with 13 picks in his career as a Longhorn, Dylan Haynes.
Hey, y'all want to be hating on Dylan Haynes? I told y'all. Dude, Dylan Haynes, I know it's something about, and I love y'all, but y'all don't like white safeties out there. I don't know what y'all got against them. No matter how good they are, y'all be hating on white safeties. And Dylan Haynes had to forge the path. All right, that helped my man Michael Taft ball out. Shout out to Blake Gideon, who also forged the path. I was here. I covered Texas. Watched all y'all hate on my white safeties. All right, I watched all y'all hate on them. I'm like, what are y'all talking? These are good players. Like, he's a bum. I'm like, he's a bum. He's the guy making plays. It's like, no, he's a bum. He's terrible. I'm like, y'all know y'all saying that because he's a white safety. If he was a black safety, y'all be like, I think he's a damn good player. See,
I have to go back and look up the number.
Michael Taft, he's still holding. You know what I mean? He's still holding strong. My white safeties out there.
Somebody mentioned that Elvis Dumerville had 20 or 20 and a half at Louisville. Terrell Suggs still has the record. I remember this 2002. Terrell Suggs had 24 sacks at Arizona State. And the only reason I remember he had a great year because I remember watching him and he was awesome that year. And then when it came time for the draft, I don't know, stop me if you heard the story. I remember people he didn't run a good 40 at the combine, and everyone made a big deal about a 40.
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah, I remember that.
Well, if he has he should never have to run 40 yards in a game. I'm watching him on TV every week, and he's just killing people. And of course, what happens? He falls to the Ravens. They get an All-Pro. Yeah.
The rest is history.
Death taxes and the NFL making stupid draft decisions that the Ravens benefit from. Things you can count on in life.
Yeah. No, it's wild. Said y'all don't like y'all hate on the white safety, but now Cooper DeJean is actually at the white cornerback spot. So I think that was a big hurdle that we had to overcome there to try to promote the white DB.
Have you relieved yourself from that burden, Rod, that you felt by taking Jason?
I no longer have the black guilt because the Giants drafted me to try to take the place of Jason Sehorn, and they failed miserably. There you go. Exactly. Super Bowl champion. That's what I'm talking about. So I'm just glad that we got some positive things working to try to, shatter some of the stereotypes, all right, out there holding us as society down because of some racist stereotypes out there that DBs can't play that white DBs can't play. That ain't right. White DBs can play now. All right.
Can I have one more Ant Hill point real quick, Rod, before we
go ahead? Yeah.
Whether the sack numbers are there or not, and I think the sack numbers will be good enough to get him in the All-America conversation. The one, and I'm splitting hairs here, right? Because it's going to sound like I'm nitpicking. But the one thing that I would like to see from Anthony Hill is his ball skills improve. I don't know that he's ever going to have elite ball skills, but he could have had they're about 3-4 interceptions last year that he had just dropped them or the ball got to him, it glanced off somebody's hand, took a bad angle. I'd like to see him finish a couple more of those plays.
Good point.
Just because with Andrew Makuba and Jahdae Barron moving on, if you're going to force turnovers, be another defense that's elite at forcing turnovers, that's part of the job. Your outstanding front seven is going to have to do more of that. Now, we know that forced fumbles aren't going to be an issue with Anthony Hill, but the opportunity to make interceptions, I just like to see him finish a couple more of those plays.
I don't want to see him in coverage as much. I want to see him. What did Will Muschamp say, Jeff?
You don't train a thoroughbred to run backwards.
Exactly. Yeah. I was like, man, I need that dude rushing the passer more. All right. So my prediction is if they do it right, you get 2 guys with double-digit sacks this year. You should. Because I don't know if Trey Owens is going to have it. This is my thing. With Anthony Hill, you don't have to scheme him. You have to scheme him advantages as much. I think you have to scheme some advantages a little bit for Trey Moore. That's why I think Anthony Hill, your best pass rusher is Colin Simmons because he don't need a damn thing. He just needs to see the ball. And his BGO and his recognition are so good. I'm with you guys. I think he'll get at least 12 sacks this year, and he'll crack the top 10 single season sack leaders here in Texas. You got to get to 12 to crack it. And I think Anthony Hill with 8 sacks last year, rushing the passer less than 90 times, dude, just increase that by 50%. He'll get to 10 sacks.
I don't have it on me. I have the big Texas, what is it, the big program guide or whatever that shows you all like the career stats and stuff. I don't know the number of guys in the 30 sack club for their career.
Not that many.
But I'm going to go ahead and put Colin Simmons in that group should he stay healthy over the next 2 years.
I like that.
If he just double-digit sacks in each year. If we're again, I'm talking it like that, like it's the easiest thing in the world. But knowing Colin Simmons and how close he was already in year 1 versus what we're already hearing in year 2, it's not an easy, objective to just achieve. But I think 30 sacks is going to be kind of the floor for Colin before he gets out of here.
Yeah, like I said, the Kiki Dia Ayala, man, that's just freaky crazy stuff. It is just freaky crazy. Okay, so I got it right here.
Hey, CJ, I've got, there are 3 members of the 30 sack club.
I got it. Yeah.
Kiki Day Ayala, 40 and a half.
Oh.
Tim Campbell, 39 and a half.
Yep.
And Tony DeGreat with 31. You got Bill Acker and Kenny Sims both with 29. Steve McMichael, 28 and a half. The most recent guy to get there, Jackson Jeffcoat at 27 and a half. And that's Jackson Jeffcoat. Remember, he missed half the 2012 season because he tore his pec.
So that 25 sack club is pretty illustrious in and of itself, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a good lesson too. That Jackson Jeffcoat, I remember that season, and that's when Greg Robinson, right, took over and turned him into like a specialized pass rusher. He was moving him around the front. He was putting him on the edge, but he'd put him on the second level sometimes and have him running twists and stunts. He just knew he was a natural pass rusher. He's like, I'm not going to waste him. I think that yes, great. Thank you, Jeff. I honestly, that's the lesson for a guy like Anthony Hill to me. Like I said, Colin Simmons don't need. He's a freak. He's come off the edge every time. Man, Anthony Hill, you can move him around him anywhere, and he can still rush the passer really well. Maybe they need a spinner package for Anthony Hill.
I'd have to go back and look at his game logs, but I would venture to say the spinner package resulted in maybe the worst college game of Baker Mayfield's career. Because remember, Baker was a freshman at Tech in the 2013 Thanksgiving game where that was when we saw the spinner package finally unleashed. And basically, it was just Jackson Jeffcoat lining up as a middle linebacker, just shooting gaps.
Yep, exactly right.
Basically all it was. And yeah, Tech didn't get a whole lot done on offense that night.
I'm telling you, man, they might need to do that with Anthony Hill sometimes. I think that'd be fantastic. All right, we'll get to some questions here. Let me first thank another one of our sponsors. Let's thank our friends over at Von Lane. Von Lane, folks, I know a lot of you out there probably have tried, traveling between the major Texas cities, Austin, Houston, DFW, San Antonio, and it can be a bit of a hassle, right? Whether you're dealing with the hassles of going to an airport, flying with security lines and pack gates, delayed flights, the hassle of dealing with the ridiculous prices in airports these days, all for a 60-minute flight. It's not worth it. Your stress levels will thank you. Driving isn't much better. If you ever tried that round trip between Dallas and Austin, or between Houston and Austin, or Dallas and San Antonio, there's hours of lost productivity, emails piling up, calls going unanswered, and you got to deal with traffic and work left undone, all while trying to focus on the road. Why waste that day when you can stay connected and productive with Von Lane? Von Lane changes everything. It's luxury regional bus travel, what some call a private jet on wheels. You can sink into a plush leather seat with a leg rest, stay connected with complimentary Wi-Fi. You can also enjoy complimentary snacks on every trip, and also plus you have delicious meals on select departures. And if you need to freshen up, they have hot towel service. They also have eye masks and pillows and blankets to keep you cozy. The Von Lane team takes care of every detail so you can sit back, relax, unwind, and enjoy whatever travel experience you choose. Maybe you're a business traveler and you want to recapture productivity. You can do that on Von Lane. Also, if you're a leisure traveler traveling on vacation, you can sit back, relax, and get pampered by the Von Lane team. And if you're planning a special trip, guys trip, gals trip, football game, bachelor party, bachelorette party, concert, or special event, you can charter your own Von Lane coach for the ultimate group experience. Von Lane is first class travel without the hassle. See for yourself. Visit vonlane.com. That's VONLANE.com and use the promo code OTF25 for $20 off your first trip with vonlane.com. That's vonlane.com and use the promo code OTF25 for $20 off your first trip. So appreciate them for sponsoring our Friday live stream and being a part of the On Texas Football family. How about this from Cotton? Are we sure Arch stays that long if 25 is uber successful? Wow. CJ, we had the CJ throwing his head. There you go. We know it was there. You go.
That's queued up.
That's how frustrated you sounded. Okay, so why, CJ? Why are you so sure about this?
Yeah, look, it's been the plan, 2 years of starting quarterback. We heard it for Quinn a little bit in terms of the number of college quarterbacks that have great success in the NFL with 25 career starts. Arch has 2. After this year, the max he would have is 18. The family is very, very much not in a rush to put him in the NFL, right? That NFL money is not necessarily something that is driving force for him to go. They want him to get here, develop under Steve Sarkisian, prepare the way that he should be under Sark, right? We saw steps taken, of course, from his first appearance last year to when he, got into the spring this year. So right now the plan is for 2 years. And I think Texas fans should love hearing that, right? Why wouldn't you? The big thing is that they don't want to rush it. And for Arch, he talked a little bit of it, just enjoy the process, be where your feet are at, make sure that you're taking each day in as the QB1 of the University of Texas. And we heard it too. I'm not sure Arch, even regardless of what happens this year, wants to leave Texas yet, right? He said, look, I've wanted to be the quarterback here for quite a while. It took some time. I sat here and I waited because I wanted to be here, very much like Quinn in 2023 saying, I'm not ready to rush this decision. Let's come back, regroup, and figure out where I can go. For Arch, it's all about getting 2 years in. That's always been the plan, regardless of what was ahead of him on the depth chart.
Yeah, Rod, I hear, and I think Stephen Houston mentions in the chat, the 25 career college starts is an undeniable trend in the NFL for franchise quarterbacks. 25, is it 30? I've heard 35, but let's say 30, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say 30 starts.
Yeah.
If let's say Texas plays 16 games over the next 2 seasons, it's a pair of 16 game seasons. Mm. That puts Arch at 32 starts in 2 years. With the 2 he got this past, that's 34 starts as a college quarterback. So that's plenty of experience, a plenty big sample size for you to go to league. He's not going to Mark Sanchez this thing. And I only bring up Mark Sanchez is because he was a Sark quarterback. Sark had him for 1 year, recruited him, developed him. He was a starter at USC in 08. And then Sark gets the Washington job, and Mark Sanchez went pro after 1 year. Remember, the Jets traded up and took Mark Sanchez 5th, 6th overall. I forget, but and the knock on Mark Sanchez was only 1 season as a starter. He only had 12, 13 starts, whatever it was. That's not going to be Arch.
Yeah, and I think there's a trend also in the NFL. If you're an NFL fan, you're well aware of it, so we won't go deep into it. But the NFL agents have said this, and NFL coaches have remarked about it as well. But basically, the NFL is not a developmental league for quarterbacks.
Yeah,
like they don't invest in development anymore for a quarterback. That would mean, hey, let a quarterback sit. We're going to pay him, beyond his first contract. Want him to sit, want him to learn and get better, and then we'll put him out there when he's ready. They're not a when you are ready league. All right, they put you out there. If you were drafted high and you make big money, you're gonna play. The Falcons are trying to do it differently. The Green Bay Packers have done it differently, right? The Green Bay Packers have the most successful quarterback model in the NFL for the last 2 decades, right? But they got a different way of doing things. Most NFL teams, they don't invest in quarterback development, and they don't emphasize quarterback development. Quarterbacks are thrown out there way too early, and they're given up on way too prematurely. Right? It's like, that guy sucks. He's only had 8 games. Like, hey, you just threw him out there when he wasn't ready. That's why we've seen some of these very unconventional quarterback arcs and paths in the NFL. Baker Mayfield you brought up. Baker Mayfield now looks like a quarterback that's a franchise quarterback. It's like, what happens? Like, well, yeah, they gave up on him too early, and then politics gets in the way, and then the numbers and all this kind of stuff in locker room. And trust me, quarterbacks can be their own worst enemy too. But there's a lot of that going on in the NFL. The Mannings are the first family of football. They are literally in the quarterback business. All right, they understand what's happening in the NFL. They understand the NFL does not invest in development of quarterbacks. If you want to develop, the best place to do it for a quarterback is the college level. And a guy like Sark is one of the best quarterback developers in football, period, college or the pro level. So I think ultimately, even if he has if he has the year, we got to have this discussion again. If he wins the Heisman, Texas wins the national championship, goes undefeated, all right, and and then if all those things happen, I'm talking about go undefeated, win the national title, and he wins the Heisman. Okay, those three things, Cotton, we will reassess. I doubt all three of those things happen. You may get one or two, but I doubt all three of them happen. But it could. Even Texas, remember 2005, you didn't win the Heisman. Went undefeated, won the national title, didn't win the Heisman. It's rare to get all three. So they get all three. I think CJ, then there's a chance. I still think he comes back. But then there's more of a chance. Then they go, well, damn, man, you're going to dominate college like that. Maybe we got to reconsider. But I still think he would come back. But maybe that's what the one time I would look at it as a way to a reason to reconsider.
Yeah. I mean, look, if he goes into Columbus, Ohio, he goes to Athens, Georgia, and he goes to Gainesville, Florida, and he ends the season undefeated. Okay. Like maybe there's nothing more that you need to develop and work on, but what are the odds of that? I'm not projecting Texas go undefeated. You got a brand new offensive line. You got essentially a brand new group of tight ends and pass catchers at wide receiver. So I'm not going to say Texas is going to be bad because I think Arch is going to be really darn good. But point being, that would have to take a superhuman performance. And by then at the end of 16 or 17 games, there'd be no doubt, right? He'd be number one overall and be like, yeah, go do your thing.
I mean, you're talking Joe Burrow 2019.
That's what Leo says. Yeah, Leo, good point. He said, got to have 2019 Joe Burrow. There you go. I'm with you though. Yeah. In that case, I'd be like, yeah, you might need to go. I'd love you to come back, but what you coming back for? It looked like there was child's play to you at that time.
Yeah.
But I doubt. Like I said, I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to look really good. I think he's going to be great. I think he does have a chance to be the number one overall pick when he does come out. But we now have multiple sources from the family themselves saying he's coming back. Remember Archie was talking to some folks at a sports bar and was like, he mentioned playing for 3 years at Texas, which is like, we don't think he's going to do that. But he's definitely going to play for 2 years. I think so. I think that's more likely than anything. But
yeah, there's gonna be so much Arch clickbait until we get to the start of the season, and as we get closer, it's going to get worse, and more BS hot takes that have nothing behind them. I would tell everybody watching this, try not that's good, Cotton. Try not to look too far into the future and think about it. Just enjoy it while it's here, because
that's true.
CJ, you weren't, you didn't get to enjoy like I did the 2005 national championship run. Watching Vince Young that season, I'm glad I wasn't thinking about, is he coming back? How does he fit as an NFL quarterback? I didn't give a damn. I just watched, enjoyed watching VY just destroy whoever was on the opposite sideline every Saturday. Yeah. That's what I would encourage. I would encourage everybody to do. Just
live in the now.
Enjoy the ride with Arch while you got it. Because for some Texas fans, this may be like a once in a lifetime type deal if this thing gets its ceiling.
That's true. I agree with that. He's special. I think we all know he's special. And I brought this up with CJ yesterday, Jeff. The truth is, I've done my unofficial polling. I talk to Longhorn fans everywhere I go. Well, I end up running into Longhorn fans all over the damn place, right? And because of this platform, they recognize, right, being like, hey, Robbie, what's up? And I wear a lot of the same stuff I'm wearing. Then we talk Texas football. I love talking Texas. So if you ever see me somewhere, you want to talk Texas football, pull me to the side. I will talk Texas football with you. My wife hates it, but I'm all about it. And I'm telling you, the unofficial polling is most Longhorn fans believe, and I think right now we're at 80%, 80+%, believe you're going to, firmly believe that Texas will win a national title in the Arch era. Now, Sark is a big part of that from what he has built right? And been in the Final Four the last 2 years. But a lot of people believe that maybe some of Quinn's shortcomings, gave Texas a bit of a ceiling. Ain't nothing wrong with that, by the way. That's just reality. Like I said, it's not just the clickbait for Arch, yeah, but the optimism is it's at a fever pitch. The Longhorn Films feels like, oh man, it's coming. It may not be next year. You know what I mean? In my opinion, it won't be next year. I don't feel like next year's the year. I'm sorry, this year. This year, sorry.
25. You think
Next
it's
year
for
is the
26?
year. This year, I don't feel like it's the year. I feel like next year is the national title year. I feel like
Yeah.
this year is a year where you're going to be good, but you're still young in some of your key areas. But I could be wrong, and I'm happy. I would love to be wrong about that. But there you go. Thank you for the question, and Cotton, and the discussion. That was a good one. Let's thank our friends over at South Point before we move on here. Hey, Texas football fans, you can score an easy extra point this season when you get to the point with our friends over at South Point Dodge. South Point Dodge has over 600 vehicles in stock right now, including the all-new 2025 Jeep Wrangler. Get the real deal today and drive away in the Jeep Wrangler, a vehicle built for adventure. Plus, you can get right now at South Point Dodge. I don't know if anybody else is doing this. You get employee incentive prices. That's right, folks. Employee incentive prices. Their fancy way of saying you get the employee discounts. You pay what the employees pay at South Point Dodge. That is the real deal. You won't get a better deal out there than that. So score big today at South Point Dodge. Go see them. They're off of I-35 in South Austin. Or you can go check out their inventory there in person, or you can go online, make it easy for yourself, and go to southpointdodge.com and go see their fantastic inventory there as well. And don't forget to check out that all-new 2025 Jeep Wrangler and get the real deal today. And ask somebody about that employee incentive pricing, the employee discount you get when you're shopping with our friends over at South Point Dodge. So no matter what you need, whether it's a car or a truck, whether you want to trade in, or whether you need something used, our friends over at South Point Dodge, they can give you the best real deal out there. And we appreciate them for being a part of On Texas football and sponsoring our Friday live stream. Thank you very much to South Point Dodge, southpointdodge.com. All right, let's get back to a couple of the questions here. I know we're getting to the end of the live stream. Cisco always has good questions. Cisco says, who is the NASCAR package? This year's the NASCAR package, for those who don't know, that's when you have 3 edge rushers on the field, 3 edge rushers on the defensive line at one time. And they used it last year mostly in third and longs and predictable passing situations, end of halves. End of half, end of the game, or 3rd and 7+ yards, they would throw out the NASCAR package. This is putting 3 edge rushers on the field. And last year, those 3 edges they would bump Barron Sorrell inside to one of the D tackle positions, and they'd put Colin Simmons out there as well as Trey Moore. And it was lethal, guys. It was unbelievable. 7 of Simmons's 9 sacks came in the NASCAR package, so it really weaponized him. Trey Moore, 5 of his sacks came in the NASCAR package. Barron Sorrell, more than half of his sacks came in the NASCAR package. I went and did the math on it. Over 40% of your sacks came in the NASCAR package. You played it less than 20% of the time. You played less than 17% of the time, actually. And it accounted for 40% of your sacks, accounted for your forced fumbles, 38% of your forced fumbles, accounted for 60% of your fumble recoveries, were all in the NASCAR package. Like it was great for havoc plays because you knew what teams were going to do, predictable passing situation, and it was like your Avengers package. You would just throw all your best players out there on the field, and they went NASCAR dime and NASCAR nickel. Dime is when you have 6 DBs on the field. Think about Texas 6 DBs, man. They were talking about Makuba out there, Janae Barron out there, Taft Daddy was out there, Malik Muhammad out there, Jalen Gilbo. I mean, Gavin Holmes was their other cover corner you would put out there. I mean, you had some of your best and deepest positions out there, and you showcased in that package. So this year, definitely Colin Simmons and Trey Moore got to be on it. Those 2 of your best pass rushers. Anthony Hill's got to be on there too, just as a guy maybe rushing from the second level. The question is, who are you bumping inside? That's the question. Which one of your edges are you bumping inside? It can't be Trey Moore. It won't be Colin Simmons. Who do you bump inside? That really determines how that package works out and how often you play it from a nickel with 5 DBs or a dime with 6 DBs.
I mean, it had to be Ethan Burke by default, right?
Yep.
Can Colton Vossi came bump inside?
I
He's pretty light at 250 on the interior.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Burke's pushing closer to 265 ish.
Okay.
270. Also, you have Justice Terry for this as well. And we'll see what the second half of spring looks like for him, because again, he's kind of been hampered by a bit of a nagging hamstring so far, so we haven't yet got to see a whole lot of him. Hero Canoe is an interesting one.
Oh, okay.
And I know we didn't see a lot of, we didn't see a Bill Norton, you didn't see a Jermaine Lole for the most part. Alfred Collins wasn't ever really in the NASCAR package, but if they needed a nose, that nose was often Vernon Broughton.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking if you need another nose in this package, which you're probably going to need, right? Hero Canoe at that 305-pound mark kind of fits what Texas had last year. Now we'll see what that pass rushing ability is for him. He's still very raw to the position.
Yeah.
But if I had to build a line, it would be probably Hero Canoe at the nose, just someone that you could sit there, spy, just, hey, if he steps up in the pocket, that's your responsibility. And at your 3 tech, it'd probably be Ethan Burke or Justice Terry or a Lance Jackson, right? You got plenty of options there. And your edges anywhere from, Colin Simmons and Colton Vosick to Trey Moore, spin him down to free up another backer. You'll have Zeno Umeozulu as well. So plenty of options there. And again, that NASCAR package, as dirty as it was last year, Rod, you're going to have plenty more options this year as well.
I like where you're going with that, CJ, because what I was going to say is I don't think your NASCAR package, jumbo guy to play on the interior, he's probably not on the roster right now. It's probably going to be if you find a disruptor in the portal, that's probably that guy's spot.
Okay. That's a good point. I didn't, because that's because
Alex January probably deserves some mention in the nose as well. I know he's a little heftier, right? And again, Texas didn't use a whole lot of those hefty interior guys in the NASCAR package, but I think he moves a little differently, right? He's about 320. He's got that first step that makes you just go, oh, shoot. He's moving that well. Mm-hmm. So again, you're not expecting a whole lot out of the nose when it comes to the NASCAR package, but again, plenty of options.
If you just want a bigger body, I think part of the reason why Broughton was there is out of all those tackles, Broughton was your best pass rusher, which is weird. I
thought it was going to be Collins, actually.
Yeah, I did too.
I thought it was Broughton. You're right, but
it ended up being Broughton. So I feel that's who I would like to see Texas get in the portal. Like a 290-ish, 300-pound disruptor. Now, I know those guys are going to be coveted commodities in the portal, and then now you're talking about NIL dollars and cents, and does the house settlement get figured out by that point? There's a whole lot of things to figure out, but I don't know that CJ just laid it out. Like there's no surefire candidate for that role right now on the roster.
Yeah, but you do have options though.
You got options, but there's not that one guy that's like, oh yeah, that's him.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. And I will say it might be a different guy depending on, because I think they want to expand the NASCAR package. You can't look at the numbers that I just gave you guys and I go, how can we get that out there more? Because it was just such a havoc like incentivizer for you. I would say they're going to start using it more on third and mediums if they can. Depending on the team they're going up against and the scouting report of the opposing team, I think so maybe your third and nickel D tackle is different than your third than your NASCAR nickel is different than your NASCAR dime, and your NASCAR nickel is something you use on third and medium, and your NASCAR dime is what you use on third and long.
I agree with you, Rod, because I think with the bodies you've got at off-ball linebacker now with Anthony Hill, Brad Spence, and now that Trey Moore is playing there, you can have different. I think we talked about this on Football Theory this week. You could have multiple versions of it. It's
exactly.
One look, like you can. Yeah. If you want to have like a 3-3 alignment with a bigger body nose and 3 off-ball linebackers, because maybe that gives you a little more leverage against the run. If a team wants to run it on third and medium, then you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
In theory, you've got 3 linebackers who can either fit the run or rush the passer. So there's going to be multiple ways to skin the cat, and I'm fascinated to see what PK comes up with, because it could be opponent specific what it looks like. It could be hey, you just got a couple of guys that have the hot hand. Maybe you do that. Somebody's showing you something in practice, whatever it is. There's a lot of different things you can do with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, let's. We got a couple of more questions before we get to the end of our live stream here. Derek wants to know, where will Texas churn come from next week, assuming O-line and DB rooms? I'm assuming you're talking about transfer portal, churning out the bottom of the roster is what we're discussing here, Derek. Yeah, I mean, what are your deepest positions? I imagine wherever you got a lot of depth. I'm assuming maybe some of the guys at the bottom of that depth chart in those position rooms may decide to look elsewhere and seek the portal.
Yeah.
DB is definitely one of them, I think. Just DB, period. I mean, you lay a corner and safety. I don't know if you're going to put it together, look at one specifically, but you're going to have a DB potentially look in the portal.
Yeah. DB maybe. Offensive line, perhaps.
Yep.
There aren't many places where Texas has, an overwhelming amount of depth. Right. Typically you look at wide receiver as always a spot that you see someone transfer out. And, technically they did see a guy transfer out today, but we've known for a while that Freddie DeBose wasn't going to be on the roster for the spring. So, if you want to count that as your first bit of attrition, hey, you're still at 81 scholarships for this upcoming spring portal window. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you're likely to see a lot of attrition. I think with every window, though, it's a safe assumption that you're likely to lose anywhere from 3 to 6, just in the sense of this is college football now. You just went through a full spring, and if you're not getting the reps you want, someone else is going to want you because, hey, you're a football player at the University of Texas, right? There's going to be a market for you. Right now, DB, offensive line, I think are probably the two safest bets.
I do wonder, with the house settlement looming, I do wonder if there's a sense of urgency for guys to jump in the portal to get an NIL deal solidified so you can get grandfathered in and you don't miss out on some cash. Now, I'm not saying there's, guys that are going to transfer out, they're not going to be, multi-million-dollar acquisitions for somebody, but, depending on when you go in, that could be the difference between, I don't know, couple $10,000, couple $100,000.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hell yeah. That's a lot of cash, man. All right. Thank you for the question. We appreciate it, Derek. Burgermeister wants to know, do you have any information on how Canestro is doing? Haven't heard his name specifically brought up by the coaches or the players. Just had a player availability, and they talked about, we had a cut from Trey Weissner talking about some of the guys that impressed him. Sark mentioned a few O-linemen. I haven't heard Canestro's name mentioned with those. I'm assuming at this point he's battling for, as a spot depth in that offensive line.
Fighting for reps right now on the second unit, and there's been more snaps on the third unit than the second, so that should give an idea of where things stand right now. Not to say that he's going to be set there for the rest of spring, but so far it's been Nate Kibble. So far it's been Jaden Chapman at those guard spots. And the staff likes them a lot. So we'll see what Stroh can do in the final, 7 practices of the spring.
All right. Thank you, Burgermeister, for the question. All right, let's thank our final sponsor of our live stream, our friends over at Advanced Pain Care. As a matter of fact, here's a message from our good friends at Advanced Pain Care.
Pros know the pain stops here.
Physical therapy helps me as an athlete then and now. And do I still need therapy? Yes. Advanced Pain Care helps with that.
Injuries will stack up. They'll add up. You can't let those injuries get you down, and Advanced Pain Care has been very helpful for me.
We can help with whatever's got you down, from nerve damage to our spinal cord stimulator. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Same-day appointments available.
Advanced Pain Care. The pain stops here.
All right. Thank you very much to our friends over at Advanced Pain Care. We appreciate them for being a sponsor of our Friday live stream. Also, we appreciate all you guys out there for your participation and for joining us today. We appreciate all of your questions and comments. If we missed any of them, we apologize about that. Please, you can obviously direct them for the next live stream. We'll probably be joining you guys on Sunday for another live stream as well. Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate all of your time and all your expertise. Thank you as well, CJ. Great nuggets as as always. Matthew is the real MVP. Can't do it without Matthew. He's the man twisting and tweaking the dials behind the scenes. So thank you to our sponsors as well. Thank you to Von Lane, vonlane.com. Use the code OTF25 and you'll get $20 off your first trip with Von Lane. Can't forget about Flat Creek Estate Wine, flatcreekestate.com. Go check them out as well. South Point Dodge, southpointdodge.com. And of course, I want to thank all of you guys out there for and Advanced Pain Care. You can't forget Advanced Pain Care. Thank them as well. And thank you guys out there for watching and for listening. For Jeff and for CJ and for Matthew, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod.
Rod, before we get out,
oh, sorry. What?
Our Jerry Hamilton's up at the facility waiting for a few visitors to come in. Might have a special one, a surprise visitor on campus. I'll just leave it at that. We're working for confirmation on who that might be, but perhaps a special surprise visitor on campus just arrived.
Also for men's hoops, Lucina Traore, the Xavier transfer big man, he is on campus. Jerry spotted him around Moody Center in the practice facility. So Texas leads big for him. We'll see if they can close that deal this weekend.
Man, Jerry's working hard out there. Appreciate Jerry out there on the scene, making sure that you guys are up to date on everything that's happening on the 40 acres. I always got a man literally on the 40 acres. So thanks to Jerry as well. So for Jeff and for CJ and for Matthew, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horn.